Ahoy hoy, and welcome to this week's episode of the DCL Show, the show where we try to help you navigate the waters of Disney Cruise Line. I am your captain, Craig Williams, and today I am joined alongside by my co-captains. We have Dreams Unlimited travel agent Elaine Edwards.
Hi, friends.
And we have DCLFan.com editor Jackie Gailey.
Hi, everyone.
A senior editor, I should say. Give you your proper credit.
Thanks.
Okay, everyone, we have a great episode for you this week. A topic that I'm very excited to see what the fellow captains have to say on this topic. But then also everyone who's taken the time to watch and listen to this episode. I really want to know what you have to say. We are asking the question today, is Disney Cruise Line getting too expensive? And I kind of came up with this topic based on the fact that my wife has been nonstop looking at cruises for every single cruise line for this upcoming summer and just indefinitely. And every single time she comes back with a price, I'm like, that is way too expensive for us, especially when I've booked Disney cruises before in the past that I know were way more affordable. And so I want to kind of know if everyone else is feeling that struggle now too, where it felt like, Disney Cruise Line was always on the expensive side. Is it starting to veer towards being a little too expensive? So we're going to talk about that in just a second. But before we do, I want to remind you this is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. If you like our content and you want to support us, book a vacation through Dreams Unlimited Travel. It costs you no extra money and you get the support of an incredible Dreams Unlimited travel agent. So head over to dreamsunlimitedtravel.com today for a free, no obligation quote. And this is also brought to you by our Patreon supporters. If you want extra information on how to get exclusive content from the DIS team, head over to dreamsunlimitedtravel.com today. Wow. Geez Louise. Not dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Head over to patreon.com/DISUnlimited and you can get all of that information there. Well, I'm clearly all over the place already, and we haven't even made it more than a minute and a half into this episode, I think. So I'm going to just pose the question right away. Do we think that Disney Cruise Line is getting too expensive? And Elaine, you book so many cruises and you see those numbers each day in and out. So I want to ask you this first. Is it getting too expensive?
I think that if you look at the entire picture, I'm going to go with no. And there's a lot of reasons that factor into that. And we can kind of get into all of that in our discussion. But I think if you really, there are times I'm quoting for clients and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money. And then there are times I'm quoting, I'm like, wow, that's a really good deal. I really think if you really get down into the weeds on this and look at the entire picture, I think that you can justify it as where it should be. But we can talk about that.
Okay. No, we absolutely will talk about that. Jackie, what do you think about this? I don't know how often you are booking cruises and disappearing without us knowing, but I'm sure you do the same thing that I do, that you constantly look at prices and think about, like, what if I could jump on a cruise? Do you feel like DCL is starting to get too expensive?
I do. I do, but I also... But at the same time, I don't. I kind of have mixed feelings on this because the cruises that I'm looking at now that I'm over here on the West Coast are the Alaska cruises. So, the thought of jumping on a train and going up to Vancouver and hopping on a cruise is, I want to do nothing more. So those cruises are very expensive compared to the ones that leave out of Port Canaveral. So those cruises are all 7-night. And so there's no quick 3-night cruise to go on, within a quick distance. So I in some ways, I think they are getting too expensive, but in other ways, I don't. So I have so many thoughts, and I know that once we're going to flesh it out a little bit. And so I've got a lot of thoughts swirling around right now for this conversation.
Absolutely. And I know one of my problems with it, why I feel like it's getting expensive. Again, it's when I'm pricing stuff out. It's first, I am not booking way far in advance. And that's always, I know Elaine's going to be shaking her head up and down. Yes, 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 you're making every mistake. But if you haven't been watching the DCL show lately, we're back. And clearly I'm just full of making mistakes nonstop. And that's okay. I feel like as much as I'm an expert on what to do while you're on the ships from the planning aspect, I'm not as much of an expert. So that's why I love to have Elaine on and other travel agents when they jump in, because it gives them an opportunity to tell me everything that I'm doing wrong. And a good example of why you should be using a travel agent so you don't make a lot of the same mistakes as well too. But when I'm looking at cruises, I'm not booking out far in advance, especially around release times. And I know well enough that the best pricing is going to be if you book the cruises as far out as possible. It's just going to get more expensive as you get closer to the cruise date. But I'm not the type of person who likes to plan, a year plus out. I'm just not. I'm not flexible with that. And I know you can always just cancel if you don't want to go. It's not like a requirement. That's why it's a deposit, and then you make the decision later. But I don't know. My brain just does not work like that. I'm that type of vacationer that I like solidified my plans usually around like 3 to 4 months out, and the inkling of an idea comes in around 6 months, and then also for me at least with Disney Cruise Line, I don't want to say I'm bratty or particular about staterooms, but I kind of am. And so I also don't like looking at guaranteed staterooms. And again, I think Elaine's sitting there saying like, you are a complete fool. You're guaranteed to get what you're booking. It might not be in the place that you want, but you're still guaranteed. Just go for it if it's a better deal. And, I get that too. And then I also don't like booking so short in advance that I can't really take advantage of any deals like with Florida resident rates, stuff like that. So I fall in this weird category where I'm just a mess of a human being. But because of that, it does make Disney Cruise Line look more expensive for me, and maybe too expensive at points in time. But I don't know too. It's also it's tough because we're looking at summer cruises right now, and now we're starting to factor in the new private island and Lighthouse Point, and I have a feeling that cruises that surround that island also are going to be a little bit at a premium cost too, because people are excited to get out there and see it. So I know there's a lot of factors into it, but yeah, for me it looks like it's starting to creep up a little bit. But
and what isn't creeping up? I mean, it's everything.
Yeah, it is. It is everything completely. So, Elaine, I know before we got started here, you ran a little bit of numbers, because I know too, in the past, we've always wanted to compare Walt Disney World and Disney Cruise Line together and look at the pricing for it. And, with Disney Cruise Line, I feel like a lot of times it was close, around the same price, sometimes a little bit more expensive, but we would sing the praises of Disney Cruise Line, saying, look at everything that you get for it. Why wouldn't you choose that versus Walt Disney World? Run us through the numbers you ran. What's it looking like?
So I will tell you that I did not know where this was going to land. I just picked a random week in May. Because we are filming this in February, and I thought May sounds like a really great time. I want to get away. And so I priced this as 2 adults, 2 kids, ages 10 and 7. And I wanted to compare a Disney Cruise Line trip to a Disney World trip and get the inclusions as much as I possibly could to be equal, just so we can see where we are on an equal playing field and see where we landed. And I started with looking at Disney Cruise Line. So for the week of May 11th through the 18th, that's a 7-night sailing on the Fantasy from Port Canaveral. Now, I'll tell you, this is pretty much when you're looking at Disney Cruise Line right now, that is the most expensive cruise, is this 7-night from Port Canaveral on the Fantasy, because the Wish is doing 3 and 4 night sailings. You know, the Dream, the Magic, the Wonder, they're all doing these little sailings right now. They haven't started their like long European summer sailings, Alaska, all of that. So it's just the off season, shoulder season, whatever you want to call that. This is the most expensive cruise that there is during that time. And so that would be for that family of 4. The only category 5, which is your standard veranda stateroom, there was actually only one remaining. So it was a 5A, which is the most expensive one for a category 5. And it was $7,581.96. Now, remember everything that is included with a Disney Cruise Line cruise. It is pretty much an all-inclusive because you have all of your entertainment and you have your dining. You have 3 meals a day, essentially plus, because you have all of the grab-and-go locations by the pool. You have 24-hour room service. So I like to call it plus because I've told this story many times, but my family has 4th meal on Disney Cruise Line, where at 11 o'clock at night, my kids always order room service of chicken fingers and fries and Mickey bars. I don't know how that became a tradition, but it did. So all of that is your Disney Cruise Line cruise for the week. Now, if we look at the same dates, May 11th through the 18th, I picked a moderate resort at Disney World just to say, okay, let's not look at value. Let's not look at deluxe. Let's just look right in the middle just to see where we land. So I picked Caribbean Beach, which actually right now, if you look at the 4 moderates at Disney World, Caribbean Beach is actually coming out the least expensive. It used to be the most expensive, but right now it's kind of coming in the least expensive of the 4. I picked a water view room just to make it equal to the veranda. So, you know, you might be looking at a pond, a lake, a pool, but it's water view. It's not ocean, but it's water view.
Of course.
I put 6-day base tickets on, didn't put park hopper, just regular base tickets. And then I put the Disney dining plan on so that I could at least try to get some food included. And with that, you have 1 sit-down meal a day, 1 quick service meal a day, a snack, and then you have your refillable mug, which accounts for when you're on Disney Cruise Line, you have your refillable drink stations with as much soda as you can drink. So I tried to get it as equal as humanly possible, which made the Disney World trip come out to $7,598.45, $17 more than the Disney Cruise Line.
Wow.
Wow.
That's very, very interesting there. And then also, like, you know, I know with the cruise, you probably didn't factor in a hotel the night before because, you know, everyone always has to get in the night before. But you can obviously do that. You don't have to go to Walt Disney World.
Pluses and minuses on both of them.
Exactly. It transfers that in with Disney Cruise Line, but, you know, you still have to get to your resort at Walt Disney World, too. Maybe you want a rental car. So there are a lot of extra factors in there. But, I mean, first off, with what you said from there, too, like, the immediate thing I'm jumping to is I don't understand how you can't do a park hopper. I'm still one of those people with Walt Disney World. So right there, that blows this right out because Walt Disney World is then significantly more expensive in that way. But the other thing, when you kind of gave us a preview of the price difference, but not like everything with it. The first thing that jumped into my mind when you said, "Oh, moderate pricing," in terms of the resort, I feel like that's also at a disadvantage too because I don't know about you both, but I kind of feel like Disney Cruise Line, while the staterooms are small and compact, even the inside ones. Maybe an inside stateroom, I feel like it's more moderate level, but when I'm on a veranda stateroom, I feel like that's the equivalent of a deluxe resort in terms of comfort, in terms of in terms of everything that you get with it, your place on the ship. So that kind of even ruins this comparison more.
Yeah, and I agree with that statement. I wanted to price out the average for the average family, which is why I went with moderate instead of deluxe, because I didn't want to like blow one side out of the water, and I didn't know where this was going to land. I was very surprised that I was able to get it within $17. But with just my first round of picks, I did not modify this in any way, shape, or form. I sat down and I went, this is what I can get that is as equal as possible, and it came out this way. But I agree 100%. A lot of people will price out Disney Cruise Line and they'll say, oh, wow, that's a lot of money. And then maybe they'll start looking at other cruise lines. And you have to remember what class of ship Disney Cruise Line is. It is considering that upper tier premium luxury cruise line. It is not considered a value-based cruise line. If that's what you're looking for, that's great. If you are looking for, I want to get away from the weekend, I want to sit on the beach, I want to drink, I want to go out and have a great time, and I want to do it as cheap as possible, great. There are cruise lines that are exactly what you want, and you can do that. If you are looking for something that is a little more upscale, if you're looking for something that you have, as Craig said, the rooms are fantastic. They are some of the biggest rooms you can find for standard rooms on cruise lines. They are bigger than a lot of the other staterooms that you find on other cruise lines. The bedding, fantastic. I will take a Disney Cruise Line bed over any Walt Disney World bed any day of the week. I sleep the best on a Disney Cruise Line bed, like for sure. And I mean, those are fantastic bedding, fantastic rooms, plus the stateroom house that's coming in and is coddling to you and folding everything. And anyways, but yes, I agree. Coming off of what Craig said, this is considered a luxury accommodation to me, especially when you're talking about room service. And,
yeah. No, and It really is. And like, I know as we were pricing out cruises too, one of our comparisons was getting on Oasis of the Seas, and a 3-night cruise on the Oasis for 2 adults is, and then kids sail free, is like $500 total. Which, I mean, it's hard because then a 3-night cruise on Disney, I mean, we're pricing out $2,300. So quite a distance in between. I've done a 3-night on Disney cruise for like $1,800 before. So, adding a previous cruise plus $500, and that gets you the price of a Disney cruise now. That's a lot harder to swallow. But there's a night and day difference between sailing on the Oasis of the Seas and any Disney ship. Even my least favorite Disney ship is better for me personally than a Royal Caribbean ship. Then again, I've everything I've seen of Icon of the Seas makes me jealous that I haven't had a chance to do that yet. But this is a Disney Cruise Line show, not a Royal Caribbean Cruise Line show.
I agree. And I will tell you, if you go and you price out Icon of the Seas, it's going to be equal or more to fantasy pricing.
Wow, really?
Just saying.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not getting on the Icon for $1,000. With Disney Cruise Line, it is essentially more all-inclusive than some of the other cruise lines. I know that, again, we do compare it a lot to Royal Caribbean, and that is just because that is what a lot of people, if they look at Disney Cruise Line, sometimes they also look at Royal Caribbean because they're very, they're family friendly, that kind of thing. Just remember, there are other charges on Royal Caribbean that you are getting for no charge on Disney Cruise Line. One of those is dining, because I know the majority of people are not eating in the main dining room on Royal Caribbean. A lot of them are going to the premium restaurants, which are extra charges. In order to get soda, you have to buy a soda package, whereas that's included for free. There's just a lot of room service. That's another one. I mean, so just make sure that you're not looking at that base fare price. Make sure that you're taking into account everything when you are comparing the two. And I'm not saying that Royal Caribbean is not going to come out to be a better deal. It definitely can be. However, I have noticed in the last, I would say, year and a half, their prices are definitely coming up.
Yeah. It's about the experience. So like you said, with something as simple as soda and coffee, you know, I end up spending way too much money at Cove Cafes, so I should ignore that part of it. But like with Royal Caribbean, when I want to go on one of those ships and I don't want to buy the drink package and I want to save money, I feel like by day 2, I'm already tired of, you know, just water and then watered down iced tea and lemonade, which is basically all they offer. And that's when it hits you. So if you're also, and if you don't like the dining room food and you're like, gosh, I really wish, you know, I wish I was going to Chops or the Italian restaurant so that way I have something that's better. All of a sudden, it's, you know, you saved money on the cruise, but now you're just thinking about like how much better it would be if I was spending extra money right now, or like what would I wouldn't even be in this position if I would have just been on a Disney cruise. Granted, I'm not always the nicest to Disney Cruise Line food, and I don't think any of us are in certain circumstances, so it's not always perfect. But yeah, it's, you know, there are definitely downsides to the nickel and diming style cruise lines out there in that way. And yeah, I don't know. It's Elaine. You might have convinced me at this point that Disney Cruise Line isn't as expensive as I thought before. And I'm not trying to do this as some weird sales pitch type thing. You made a compelling argument here.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, all cruise lines do things completely differently. Virgin Voyages is one that is more towards that all-inclusive as well, that they include pretty much everything they possibly can in the fare. They include the gratuities, all the premium dining is included, a lot of your drinks are included. So they are one of those ones that is moving towards that all-inclusive model, because I just know for me personally, I really just, my heart goes a little wild when I get that bill on the very last day when you're getting ready to pack up your luggage and you get that copy of the bill and all of the extra charges. And so I don't like that surprise. So I prefer paying as much up front and budgeting as much up front. That's why when I go to Disney World, I will buy the dining plan, because I want to know how much money I need to spend up front. I don't want to get surprised at the end. So,
yeah. So Elaine, sorry, Jackie, did you have something to say?
No, I was just going to say that it's funny when you guys were talking about Icon of the Seas and how it's, as you know, getting to be where it's as expensive as Disney Cruise Line. I was thinking that feels like an amusement park on the water. So it's so very different from what Disney Cruise Line, how that ship is, how their ships are. It's their ships are not like a floating amusement park where the Icon of the Sea seems like it is. And so that part of it is, you're kind of, it's almost like a theme park. Yeah. Feeling vacation, maybe. You're both floating in the same way, but it's two complete different experiences. So it's even hard to compare in that way. But Elaine, before we wrap this up here, since, you know, the entire topic is about, is it getting too expensive? Can you give us the rundown, as you have shared many times before in the past, of if you think it's too expensive, what are the best ways, bullet point style, to make sure that you get the best pricing possible?
Sure. So, as Craig said at the beginning, if you can book advance, go ahead and do it. Disney Cruise Line, unlike a lot of the other cruise lines, your deposit is non-refundable as long as you're not booking concierge. If you're booking concierge, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. It is refundable. Your deposit is refundable unless you are booking concierge, in which it is non-refundable. Deposits on other cruise lines are non-refundable for the most part, unless you specifically hunt down the refundable ones. Anyways, so if you can book in advance, book that refundable. And then, you know, you can set yourself up on the payment plan. If you're booking when they first come out, you're essentially booking 18 months out. I have an amazing client that I love that has traveled with me many, many times. And she has a cruise that she booked about 18 months out, and every other week she submits a payment for $114. And so she's making those incremental paychecks. So I'm assuming she's making them as she's getting her paycheck from work. I don't know. That's just what I'm assuming. And a lot of people will do that, that they just a couple $100 out of every paycheck they put towards it. So can do that. If you can't do that, then when you are getting closer, there is the potential of guarantee rooms coming available. They do not come on every single cruise, and they are not guaranteed anyway. Right now, we are not seeing a lot of them. We were seeing a lot last summer, but right now we aren't because the ships are full. But if the ships are empty and they need to fill rooms, they will put out VGT, OGT, and IGT, veranda guarantee, outside guarantee, ocean view guarantee, and inside guarantee. What that means is if you book a VGT, you are booking a veranda stateroom. You do not get to pick the category, the location, the size, anything, but you are guaranteed to get a veranda stateroom. And you can save a good amount of money doing that as long as you are flexible enough to say, I don't care what I get. You cannot make any requests. I've had people that say, well, I'm sailing with this person. Can they make sure that we're connecting? No, they can't, because they are booking you from whatever staterooms are left over. You're not going to get your stateroom until a couple weeks to a month before you sail. And there are no changing if you don't like the stateroom that you got. So if you're okay with all of that, it is a great way to save money. A lot of things that go along with the other trip planning that we always talk about. You know, I like to buy discounted Disney gift cards. I use those discounted Disney gift cards to pay for my cruise. It gives me a little bit more off. So, you know, your travel agent can definitely say, if you say, look, we're looking at a vacation, this is our budget, we don't know if we want to cruise, we don't know what cruise line we want to go to, they can help you compare the cruise lines, say this is, you know, about what it's going to be, compare it to Disney World or a Universal vacation, and help you figure out the best place that you can spend your money for sure.
Excellent. Well, thanks for giving us all of those tips. And I hope everyone now is, you know, everyone has every little, sorry.
I have another one.
Okay.
Make sure you look at alternative ports as well, because a lot of people kind of default to looking out of Port Canaveral. If you're wanting to sell out of Florida, make sure you look at Miami and Fort Lauderdale as well, because many, 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 many times you can get the exact same cruise for a lot cheaper. Or if you live in Texas, look at the Galveston cruises. I mean, just look at those ones that are, if you live in California, look at the ones from San Diego. You know, there's a lot of the same cruises that you can get visiting the same places, but just sailing someplace that's not Port Canaveral, you can get them a lot less expensive. So that is something to do. I have a friend that she sailed last year and she wanted to go Thanksgiving week with her 2 kids. And so she said, we don't care what ship. We don't care what we're going. We don't care where we sail from. We just want to sail over Thanksgiving. And I said, okay. So I priced out. At the time, there was only 4 ships because the Wish wasn't out yet. So I priced out all 4 of the ships. And the one that was sailing out of Miami was a lot cheaper than the ones sailing from any of the other places. And I think it was even a couple days longer as well. So they got a fantastic deal. So that's something to remember as well. Look at alternative ports.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know my family experienced the same thing when we were trying to do a Christmas cruise. The price of a 3-night out of Port Canaveral was the same as the price of a 5-night out of Miami. And so we were going to go with that, but didn't work out for us as it happens sometimes. And that's a great plug for also, if you're interested in Fort Lauderdale, go back a couple episodes and you can hear kind of our little discussion when choosing between Port Canaveral and Fort Lauderdale in terms of the Disney dedicated ports. But I feel like we're now armed with all the information we need to save the most money on a Disney cruise, as well as, be okay with the fact that, yes, it is expensive, but when compared to a Walt Disney World vacation, when compared to a lot in life, it's still not necessarily terrible. But, it might take you a little while to save up for that cruise. But you know what? Vacations, for some people, are like a every other month thing. But for most people, it's once a year, once every other year. So it's just... Find the cruise that you're most comfortable with and the price range, and look at all the information, and hopefully you can make it on a Disney cruise one day if that is your dream. So Elaine and Jackie, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I didn't add a lot, but
no, it's okay. And
I love any opportunity to tell you you're wrong. So I'm always down.
Well,
I know.
Yeah.
It's what this entire show is about. But thank you very much. And thank you very much to everyone for taking the time to listen and watch. If you enjoyed this and you want to support us more, again, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Book a vacation today. If you want to get that exclusive DIS content, patreon.com/DISUnlimited. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave comments, questions, video suggestions in the comments section. If you were listening to this, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and leave us ratings and reviews when possible. But that's going to do it for this week's DCL Show episode. I really hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next time we set sail with another episode of the DCL Show. But until then, remember, you can only get to Castaway Cay on Disney Cruise Line.